When you go out, you get all excited and you learn about it. Remember, guys, when we first learned about hammer, wood, and nails? And how to put things together. You just pounding boards together. And you, bam! Ow! Now you know something more than you did before. We'll see that sometimes during this application stage, there's things that look like mistakes. But it's all part of the learning process, isn't it? So this very first cycle that was carved some 2,500 years ago on this rock started 16.4 billion, that's billion with a B, billion years ago. This is why this information hasn't been studied by the archaeologists. The archaeologists could not conceive of why Indians making pots in the jungle would have any business thinking about 16.4 billion years. So they just put it on the shelf and nobody else looked at it until Coleman came along. In fact, when this stone was unearthed, the astronomers, you know, the guys that was looking out into the galaxies, they had postulated that the universe, the Big Bang, happened somewhere between 20 and 10 billion years ago. And then later, as we got better and better telescopes, we could see further out into it. And then they went, well, no, it wasn't 20, it was like 12 billion years ago. And that was it. So this was impossible. Well, now we've updated Hubble, and we've found that there are things out there 14.5 billion years old. I bet you that in the next few years, we're going to find out that the Maya had it right on. That the Big Bang happened 16.4 billion of our years ago. Understand that this is an exact number of tunes of 360-day cycles, but when you work it to our year, it gets to a fraction. Okay. This whole cycle, 16.4 billion years, is divided into 13 different sections. Each one of them 1.26 billion years long. So a day in this cycle was 1.25 billion years. And each night lasted for 1.25 billion years. Okay? Each one of these has a particular intention in creation. We won't go into that right now, but each one of them has a particular intention. And it's followed all these intentions all the way across. This cycle has a name for its product, what it produced. It's called the cellular cycle, because way over here at the very, very end, in this last section, in the seventh day, what happened 1.26 billion years ago is the first live cell on this planet. Now, up until that time, consciousness was very busy. Consciousness was busy creating or doing business. You know, it had a particular mode by which it was operating. And it was operating in the mode of action, reaction. I'll just abbreviate it here. But action, reaction was this whole cycle. Chemical, gravitational, frictional, all of the physical laws that we understand and still use today, all of those things were established from the Big Bang forward. Then we'll go through some of the detail of what happened in these in just a minute. The very next cycle, carved on that rock, started 820 million years ago. 820 million years ago. And it started going through these same 13 steps. Each one of those steps taking 63.4 million years each. This one was 1.26 billion years each. This one's only 63.4 million years each. Yes?
A day to a day?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. And the answer is, creation has the deck stacked in consciousness's favor. We go from a day to another day. Okay? This whole cycle, 820 million years, fits very tidily into 1.26 billion, doesn't it? This whole cycle fits in that box very comfortably. Does that make sense? So we got all the way over here to this last light, and then we got another light. And this started a whole nother process. This has a name for its product. Mammalian cycle. Why? Because 63.4 million years ago, what happened? The first live Earths. Now back here, right at this line, individual cells started clumping together for cooperation for better survival. And then they evolved stage by stage by stage into more and more complex organisms. And when you go to study this on your own, because we're not going to drag you through all the detail, or we might as well just talk about the book, you know. It's better for you to study the detail on your own. But you will find that all the developments of individual cells into shell life, into fishes, into reptiles, into birds, and finally into mammals and then us, all of that went stage by stage by stage. It's not a coincidence. We're on a schedule. And it's provable by the historic record, the paleontological record. You have the center right here. The mastodons and what's called the Bernage. Yeah. What is it again? Beringia Center. And you can go and confirm this for yourself. Here we go. This whole consciousness cycle had a way of doing business too. It's called stimulus response. All of this consciousness was building on a survival tool or a method called stimulus response. It's still working now. That's because we're still living in this 1.26 billion years. And those laws that were established then are still working. That's a level of consciousness, a foundation. Here, we built the consciousness of stimulus response and mammals. I see a whole lot of mammals out there. We're still living in this 63.4 million years. The next cycle started 41 million years ago. It's called the familiar cycle.